Hello and welcome to our local establishment. Unfortunately, we're not here to talk about NXT. Well, not exactly. I am OLED and I'm joined by the one and only Astrid Pizarro. We're both fresh off work. We're both tired. We've both spent way too much of our workday on Twitter today. At least I know I have. Astrid, how about you?
Sort of, yeah.
All right. We're going to throw the ticker up at the bottom so that people can see what is going on. I will read off the list of names as it goes by. These are all releases that are confirmed either by Fightful or by the talent themselves. Elisa Leone, Shanky, Dabakato, Mace, Mansoir, Dana Brooke, Quincy Elliott, Bryson Montana, Aaliyah, Shelton Benjamin, Dolph Ziggler, Elias/Ezekiel, Emma, Riddick Moss, Mustafa Ali, Rick Boogs, and Top Dollar. That's a lot of people.
Yeah.
That is a great deal of people. I am stunned by the sheer amount of people on a day where WWE decided to announce a $1.7 billion deal for SmackDown to go to USA Network starting next year, where they announced that they are going to Australia for Elimination Chamber in February. And then this. It's just Astrid. A lot of these people you'll have seen over the course of the years, a lot of them, NXT based at some point, one or another. What are your thoughts on this list of names?
The part that I think it's crazy for me out of this is that the moment they talked about the Endeavor merge, I had a feeling the releases were going to happen. And I remember that day we started seeing tweets from Sean Ross Sapp mentioning about the people from the office that got let go. And I was thinking, we're going to get the talents right after this. That's what I was thinking, like automatically. And then he said, oh, no, we're not getting any talents, like as of at that moment. And I kept thinking, that feels weird because I feel like usually when something like this happens, we do get the talent released. And I thought it was super odd that we didn't get anything. And then first I started it, like you said, logging in, get the chamber in Australia. And I was like, great, that's amazing. Another international show. Great, let's keep it going. Let's keep going this trend of having international shows that we're having. I was like, and then I see the deal about SmackDown. I was like, wow, that's awesome. It's gonna be great for the talent. And then see what happens next with it in a different network. And then the first one I see is Mustafa. And I kept thinking, and I remember sending it to you, and I kept thinking in my mind, this is just him talking in character, most likely, because from what I read it, because I actually read it, I am longer in WWE. So I was thinking, oh, he's probably just saying something in character on Twitter because he didn't put no longer.
Mhm.
And I remember sitting into you thinking, is this in character? Am I missing something here, perhaps? And then I didn't even look at my phone for quite a while. And then and then a few minutes later, he had tweeted, "Oh, I'm no longer with WWE," and I thought, "Oh, that's the first time that I see somebody say those words." Because usually, like, we don't hear people saying, "I'm no longer with WWE." They just say that they got released and that's it. And I think since COVID, we really haven't had updates to like the website when they used to put them on the website before as well. And we're like refreshing and seeing it on the website, which made it like scarier. And then I forgot the next one was after Ali, and I was like, shoot, it's the releases. I was
Emma.
thinking, and then yeah, Emma, and I was like, and then I went back and I saw the people were sharing her tweet that she was excited for the Australia show, and I was like, that's amazing for her. I bet she's gonna get featured being from Australia, and then she would never mind. I'm no longer with WWE, and I kept thinking that's the second person now that has said the same words. I'm no longer with WWE, and it feels like it maybe is something that they were told to maybe write up as they were posting it because it didn't seem like it came from that in that aspect. And then I was thinking, wait, Mustafa, we just we had announced a No Mercy match, so it's like I was thinking he was in character. It felt very odd, and then seeing Emma and seeing all these people, and I was like, I kept working. I'm like, I'm gonna try not to look at my phone, but it was so hard and it just makes me sad because I keep thinking of like these are people's livelihoods getting in the line as well. I feel like that only alone makes it sad for me as it is, but then when you see the people that you actually enjoy watching and the people that are your favorites, be it in that category, I was like, shoot, like I saw Emma and I kept thinking, I remember watching Emma when she was doing the bubbles and dancing along with her, when I went to Full Sail. So I feel like I kind of grown up in that way with Emma and Paige in NXT. And then getting Mustafa, I was already upset about that one, but I knew he had asked for his release, but I was thinking he was doing well already. So I figured he probably wouldn't ask for his release again after how it's been going. And then little by little that kept coming and coming and coming, and I think one that really hurt me a lot was Ziggler because I feel like it's one of those people that I saw him constantly since he cashing his money in the bank since he skyrocketed that way. And seeing like I saw them at Riddick Moss and I was like, oh shoot, him and Anima are getting engaged, and then they both lose their jobs on the same day. So I was like, shoot, there's no way this is happening. I know there's certain people that were like, oh, they're not getting used, so it makes sense in a way. Like the Shanky, for example, we understand like if he gets released because he doesn't get used. But Masai and Mansoor, like you see them like they're doing what they can with what they're given, so it's not their fault. We get Dana, who we've been seeing on a weekly basis in NXT. It's like so now we don't get an ending to her and Kalani of all people. So it's just a lot to think about all around.
We do have our good friend Tom Collahue jumping in, who did a fantastic job earlier today going ahead and doing this. He did an hour and a half stream as the releases were just starting, did a really good job sourcing this. I have taken his thing where I am going from from Fightful. And again, these are all per Fightful or confirmed by the talent.
Mhm.
So grain of salt on some of these that haven't been confirmed by the talent. Most of them have been at this point. I think Ali recognizes that it's not much so much as a release as being fired or not being allowed to work for 3 months. Yeah, I mean, Ali is definitely an interesting case. He is going to be. We can ask the question: who is going to be the biggest, brightest, shining star out of this group of talent that has been released?
I think he's definitely has to be one of them because he wanted his releases because he knew he could do better somewhere else with with how creative he is. So I wouldn't mind seeing him having that kind of indie run. I already saw Blake Christian tweeting about him
Yep.
in Speedball, and I was like, that's the other side of the coin that I think about as well. It's like now all the possibilities that we might get with them in other companies. I was like, I wouldn't mind seeing that, and just like there's certain people like maybe like an Ali who I wouldn't mind going kind of like a Mercedes Monet type of route of like being in different places for like different amounts of time and just kind of going on a tour in that sort of way and facing different people in different companies. Like I would love that for him. To be honest, for me, the one I think about is Emma. I feel like Emma was doing great in Impact when she went to WWE, so I didn't want her to go to WWE because of that. So I think it might be a time for her to go back to Impact. Impact does great with the knockouts, and they've been highlighting them quite often and showcasing them. So I feel like it's a good timing for her to go back there now again. She's the one that I can think of from the list. Shelton's another one that I'm like I don't know where I would like to see him, but that's another one that I feel like I could see him anywhere at this point.
For me, Shelton belongs in Ring of Honor. He feels like that kind of a dude. You bring him into Ring of Honor and you have him work with some of these young Ring of Honor guys. Like Wheeler Yuta is an instantaneous Shelton Benjamin match that I kind of want to see. Going over this, I want to spend some time talking about each individual person, some of their accomplishments and things like that. We're going to start with the most accomplished person on this list, Dolph Ziggler. We have to start there. 15, let me just double check that number because I saw the John Cena tweet and I sent it to a bunch of people. I believe it was 1,500 matches John Cena says that Dolph Ziggler had. I'm just confirming the number.
Yeah. It wouldn't surprise me, to be honest.
1,554 matches for Dolph Ziggler.
Wow.
Absolute star, Dolph Ziggler. The money that should have been, could have been made on Dolph Ziggler with this company is ridiculous. Over his accomplishments, one-time NXT champion, two-time World Heavyweight champion, two-time WWE United States champion, six-time WWE Intercontinental champion, one-time SmackDown Tag Team champion, two-time Raw Tag Team champion, one-time World Tag Team champion. He is the Mr. Money in the Bank from 2012. He is the 22nd person to accomplish the Triple Crown. He is by far one of the most accomplished stars in all of wrestling. He transcended everything. And to think, his entire career started being a male cheerleader.
Never would have thought about it.
I never would have pegged this to be the outcome of his career at that point. We got a good friend, Ecto Guy, saying, like I said, congrats to all the companies that are about to gain all of this talent. I agree. There are going to be so many companies that are going to be able to go ahead and get fantastic talent out of these WWE releases. And I'm going to go with Matt Cardona's thing. This can be the best day of your life if you want it to be. Because Matt Cardona was one of those guys who got released. And Matt Cardona has made a name for himself on the independent circuit. Cody Rhodes requested his own release and was granted it and became one of the biggest stars in professional. Now, granted, part of that is having the Rhodes name. Part of that was the backing of the Young Bucks at the hottest point for the Young Bucks. Yes, I get that. But he bet on himself and he made it happen. He went to Impact. He went to Ring of Honor. He went to New Japan. He went to almost every single indie company that you could find. This can be the best day of your life if you make it that way. It is terrible that this situation has happened to these talents. But hopefully, we're going to get a bunch of success stories out of them. Our good friend Tom Collahue. Unfortunately, I just can't see most of them being offered a decent position, a decent spot anywhere else. There are some of them that I think are going to have a hard time finding work. There are some of them that I think are going to have a plethora of, as Parrish would say, of opportunities, should they want them. Dolph Ziggler, I would say he'd have a job anywhere he wants to, should he want it. I think he has a name and a star power where he could go ahead and get a job should he want it. But he's been doing his comedy for a long time. He's been trying to lessen his wrestling count as it is. So I think that there is multitude of time that Dolph Ziggler can go. Moments in Dolph Ziggler's career. I mean, Money in the Bank. We cannot talk about cashing in Money in the Bank the night after WrestleMania. It may be the best cash-in of all time. I mean, it's right there with Seth Rollins.
Yeah.
As the greatest cash-in of all time. The match with The Miz at ironically, at No Mercy. As we come up to No Mercy. The match with Miz at No Mercy where he wins the Intercontinental Championship, where it's his career versus the title. Where everybody assumed he was going because he was doing his stand-up and he was getting better at it and he was making a deal of it. And they put the Intercontinental title on him for his 5th Intercontinental title reign. just made a star out of anybody he worked with.
Yeah.
One of truly the best sellers I've ever seen. I've been
Hmm.
watching wrestling for over 30 years. I feel like he's one of the best sellers in wrestling.
Yeah.
A little comedic selling, but I mean, I don't think there's
Yeah.
anybody who wants to sell your stuff as much as you want Dolph Ziggler to do it.
Yeah, I feel like yeah, with the selling, he could be easily one of those coaches and producers that I feel like anybody could benefit from. And what I love seeing about him too is all the tweets from indie talent that have talked about being extras for Debbie and having him and Mustafa were the two people that I saw the most, and pulling them over and giving them advice and talking to them. And all the people that I've seen so far tweeting about that have been grateful that they took their time out of the day to be able to do something like that for them, and it means a lot for the talent, even though it might seem something like kind of minuscule for them. It's something bigger for the indie talent to be able to hear words from people like them who has such a good experience so far in wrestling. I feel like for another for Yulisa. Oh, I saw this and I think it's something that could be possible. It could be her going back to Mexico because her dad, working still in the community like that. I could see her going back there as well, or even if she wants to kind of grow in the US, maybe she'll stay here and kind of keep growing from there, knowing that she already started in that process. But that one's another one that it really bumped me out too, because I was thinking her and Valentina were doing so well together, and I feel like they could have been featured so often. It's not often that you get two Hispanic women being in a team like this, and then now we get Lola and Electra. I feel like that representation is really significant there too, so I really wanted them to keep that going. It's unfortunate to not see it. Um, the other one that really stood out to me was Top Dollar, because the rest of Hero hasn't been announced or anything like that. He's the only one out of the three as well that I've seen. So that was, pretty odd for me.
Yeah. Moving on to talking about people's careers and highlights and things about their career. Mustafa Ali, is the chat's headed that way. I feel like Mustafa Ali could shine in AEW and Impact. I agree. I think Impact is a grand slam for him. I mean, right away win that X Division title and just instantly put it on him. Just have somebody do an open challenge on December 20th or something, and just have him win that championship right there. Tom Colley says Ali would be the one that got away from me.
Yeah.
I agree. Mustafa Ali, one of the biggest releases today/tonight. Yeah, I mean Mustafa Ali. Ironically, he has the biggest upside as a future. He's one of many on this list to have never held a WWE championship in any way, shape, or form. And I had to look that up because I was looking up his Wikipedia to make sure, and I'm like, he never won the cruiserweight title.
No.
But you think of Heart and Soul, and you think of Cedric Alexander versus Mustafa Ali. You think about, was it WrestleMania pre-show, Buddy Murphy versus Mustafa Ali?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
WrestleMania pre-show where they tore the house down. I mean,
Yeah.
Retribution was the stain on his career. We'll all admit that. But this newfound character that he had,
Yeah.
where he was going to go ahead and just be this bright shining star of this delusional heel, just absolutely sensational. Dar Amazing brings it up. So does Dominic defend the North American title at No Mercy? Yeah, I think they're going to pivot to Dragon Lee. It was brought up today on SCW Wrestling Channel. Shout out to them. They were live a little while ago. It was brought up on there as an idea. They kind of set up Trick Williams this week with a
Yeah.
Dominic Trick Williams spot. If Dragon Lee loses and they don't want to pivot to Dragon Lee, if you need a one-off real quick opponent, you could put Trick Williams in that spot.
Yeah, and to me, the other thing I could see is like the match between Dom and Dragon Lee on Raw ending on a DQ somehow and getting that rematch at No Mercy could be the other thing that I can think about, just to keep it the way it's going right now. That's the part that I was thinking. I was looking forward to that match already. I really wanted, I think it would have been cool to have Ali win that championship at No Mercy, and I was, hoping for that to be that crowning moment for him there too. Um, Another one that I wanted to mention too was Dana, because I was thinking it's like, we could see Dana going to NXT, trying to improve, and it just sad that she, we also have the storyline between her and Kalani right now, and it's one of those that it's gonna be kind of like it happened with Steph Delander and Duke Hudson. I was like, she was here, and then we have to pretend she's not here, and had to say a line to like address why she's not here. So I think it'll be kind of bittersweet and kind of maybe awkward in a way, I guess. When Kalani kind of said something about Dana not being there this week when NXT happens, so that's gonna be a feel awkward.
Why we're here talking about Dana Brooke and Aaliyah, we have I have made mention of Dana Brooke and Aaliyah on multiple occasions, and how I was surprised at how long Aaliyah's been around, considering the number of matches she's had, the poor pushes she's had, and in my mind, seeing bigger name talent get let go or released, and somehow she always seemed to make the cut. Dana Brooke, how I feel like she hasn't really improved as an in-ring performer. And again, all of these were critiques based on her in-ring work. And that's exactly where I'm headed, Dar Amazing. Like, I joke a lot about Dana Brooke, and like I said, as a critique of her in-ring work, I'm not a big fan. But I never want people to lose their job. I don't want them to lose their job and not be able to put food on their table to do other things. Like, do I think Dana Brooke is a great professional wrestler? No, that's a personal opinion of her in-ring talent. But I've never once wanted to see her released. And to see her name and Aaliyah, and on Taking Over this week, we talked at one point about how surprised I am that Aaliyah was still with this company. And like I said, it was never a shot at them like, oh, they need to be released. It was their in-ring work is something we have to bring up on the show. And it was a shock to me that they always seem to somehow skate by and somehow make the pass and not end up on one of these cost benefit analysis release lists. I wish them the best in the future endeavors. I hope they find something. I think Dana Brooke can go back to the modeling world and go back to the businesses that she's been partnering with and be an influencer on Instagram and things. I think that the sky's the limit for her being able to take herself and present herself as herself and be able to do things for things. Like Eva Marie. Eva Marie has done the same thing where she's been able to take what little fame she had from the in-ring world and, critique her in-ring ability what you will. She's been able to try to make it as an influencer and to do it. Celeste Bonin, better known as Caitlyn from the late Attitude Era, early Ruthless Aggression era. All kinds of fantastic stuff there. There are places for her to be able to find something, and I hope she finds something on her feet. This may sound stupid, but how about Dana and Mandy?
It's not stupid at all.
Team. The world's wide open. Mandy just opened her OnlyFans. It is open and running. It's a possibility that something like that could happen. Never say never. She's the sky's the limit for women's wrestling talent who have some sort of a foot in the door. There are plenty of things that they can do now with this level of celebrity that they have to influence the world, especially on social media. Her being a bodybuilder in the past and doing competitions like that, her gymnastic ability. Like, there are things for Dana Brooke to do. Do I look fondly back at her wrestling career? No, I don't. As an in-ring talent, I don't fondly look back at it. But at the same time, we joked a lot about Dana Brooke and how bad she was in the ring. Didn't mean I wanted her to lose her job. It's a shame. Yeah, it's a shame for anybody. Chris Best saying, we all wanted Dana to get better, to succeed, but in the end, she just wasn't getting it. And at some point, you just need to cut bait. That's unfortunately the reality of this. For a lot of these people, that's the reality of this situation. People were going to throw in this same boat of people who just weren't getting over bad creative, weren't getting over, weren't good enough in the ring. Shanky. Nobody has any wonderful, fond memories of Shanky. We didn't get to see enough of him. And at the end of the day, he didn't leave a lasting impression. Dabakato left an impression. Nobody's going to forget him. He left a lasting impression. But at the end of the day, couldn't get over, bad creative, never really worked for him. Mace or Mace and Mansoor. Mansoor was the king of Saudi Arabia wrestling wise for a long time, where we never lost in front of that Saudi crowd for a while. He had a win streak, where because he only wrestled right around the Saudi shows for a while. I think he had like a 40 or 50 match win streak at one point. But again, they never seemed to get over. Nothing seemed to ever really click. Maximum Male Models was fun for a while, but things happened and they went different directions with people. And at the end of the day, they got left behind. Bryson Montana is an NXT talent who never got an opportunity to really show off who he is. Um, Quincy Elliott is who he is and got what he got and never really showed off on the screen. And sometimes it's, it seemed like he had some issues in his personal life, and that may have taken him off the screen and may have resulted in part of the reason why he may or may not have been really. And again, that's me speaking from seeing things on social media and going, these things happen on social media, and he was on creative hiatus. Obviously, something he said or did must have upset somebody, because he had a short run with Shotzi and then never made it back to television. Rick Boogs. Dude was ultra talented, full of charisma. I'm never going to forget his entrances with Nakamura and Pat McAfee dancing on the table. But other than that, I can't tell you anything else he did other than work with Nakamura.
I think it's ironic because I think it was BR Doctor Chris, who's been with us here before. He was asking, I think it was about Elias or Rick. It was one of them, and I replied and I said, I've been wondering about him and Elias because I know they were like forming them as a team, and then all of a sudden they were just kind of like gone, and people were wondering if Elias was injured, and he wasn't. So we were like, oh, I guess they probably don't have anything for him at the moment. But I still think of Elias, that walking with Elias, all the T-shirts, the album, and shaving his facial hair to do Ezekiel later, and do all that run with KO, and so many memories with him, and the way the crowd booed him when they did at first, and then how they loved him later on. So I think he had a great character there. It just feels like maybe they had nothing else for him, and I like both of them together. I wish I would have done a little bit more to see them together, because I think that would have been an interesting pairing to see on TV more often. But yeah, Elias was definitely one of my favorites. Like, even to the point of like when I went to WrestleMania in New Orleans and I knew he was gonna perform at a bar, and I don't go to bars. I went to a bar just to see Elias perform because I knew I would see him perform live.
Oh,
Um,
I love that album. I have it on my phone. It's saved there. I thought his music stuff was great. Some things about Elias. In 2018, the height of Walk with Elias and everything like that. In the PWI 500, he was ranked 69. Nice. He was the breakout superstar at WWE's year-end awards in 2018. He was a four-time WWE 24/7 champion. Um, the terrible breaking of kayfabe when Elias today announced that he is also Ezekiel, that Kevin Owens was right. I kind of want Kevin to have something on there this week on TV, just as like a little shout out to it, because he's going with this anger management problem. I want to hear KO say something about it on Monday.
he
Yes,
would be able
are
to
amazing.
perfect
Oh my
too.
God, KO was right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I do feel like Elias at some point might come back, kind of like a Jeff Jarrett. He'll come back at some random point in time and strum that guitar, and we'll hear those notes. And Elias will make an appearance or two and smack somebody with a guitar. Um, yeah, I think that there could have been the world with Elias, and I don't want to say they necessarily dropped the ball, but um, we definitely didn't see everything that Elias could do. I mean, that night in Seattle with him and KO, with the sustained boos the way they were when they were ragging on the fact that Seattle no longer had the Seattle Supersonics as a team. Just absolute insanity. Yeah, we're getting word of potential releases based off of single sources. We're gonna wait until we have confirmed. If you can send me the Brooklyn Barlow picture, like the act. Oh, it's
Yeah.
right here. Never mind. I just want to see.
Um,
Give us a moment. Astrid is bringing. Okay,
yeah,
it's
there's a few apparently that are people that had never made it on screen in NXT
yeah.
that are names are being released. So
So
those are
this is
the ones that
probably
are.
Performance Center talent. Brooklyn
Yeah.
Brawlow has made TV before. She just simply has a
Mhm.
peace sign. We're not going to go ahead and say that she's absolutely been released. We're not going to add her to the list, but keep an eye out over the next little bit as we find out what's going on. Nick Hausman says that he's been, again, this is a single sourced rumor at this point.
Mhm.
Nick Hausman of House of Wrestling has said that he's been told 18 NXT talents were cut today, most of which had never made their name, had never been on television yet. So, again, unconfirmed, unsubstantiated. We're not going to go ahead and elaborate on that. Like I said, on her own personal social media, Brooklyn Barlow does have a peace sign with a black screen. So it's different than the Amari Miller situation where Amari put a status of just a broken heart and people started tweeting out that she had lost her job, which she hadn't. So,
Okay, so two of them got confirmed by Fightful as well. Alexis
okay.
Gray and Kevin Ventura.
Okay. Kevin
They
Ventura, Cortez, and Alexis Gray.
yeah.
Looks like Alexis Gray was one of the student section in the Chase U based on the photo
Mhm.
that they've used. Yeah, it's again, it's hard to say budget cuts when you've got these talent that are probably making next to nothing, and you're like, yeah, they're making a real bottom line on your budget, huh?
Yeah. Hmm.
Um, let's talk a little bit. We talked about him before, but I definitely want to talk about him now. Shelton Benjamin. I mean,
Mm.
I remember him in Team Angle when they debuted as part of Team Angle. Obviously, you can never forget the Shelby Slayer, Mia Yim, where she talks about the first time he got released, he met Mia Yim. And she tweeted that she tweeted these exact things today. The first time you got released, you met me. What's going to happen now? And he goes, Shelton Benjamin on his own social media jokingly said, I blame you. Shelton has had, God, so many amazing moments in his career. I am just pulling up the titles here. We have in Ring of Honor, he is a two-time Ring of Honor World Tag Team Champion with Charlie Haas's team, with what were Team Angle. At this point, they were known as the world's greatest tag team in Ring of Honor. Um, he was a three-time 24/7 champion. He was a one-time U.S. champion. He was a three-time Intercontinental champion. He was a three-time tag team champion, WWE Tag Team Champion / Raw Tag Team Champion. He had two reigns as a World Tag Team Champion with as the WWE Tag Team Champion with Charlie Haas in their run as the world's greatest tag team as part of Team Angle. And then he had a one-time run with Cedric Alexander as part of the Hurt Business. Um, just absolutely fantastic stuff. I'll never forget Shelton getting his head super kicked off as he bounced off the ropes from one side of the ring to the other, and Sean just catches him with the greatest super kick I've ever seen. I'm just clear took his head off.
I also remember, I forgot, I don't want to say it was Mania, but I forgot what it was for. But him and the storyline with his mom and everything, his mom accompanying him to the ring as well is another thing that always stood out to me.
The
But
gold standard, yeah.
yeah, gold standard. And it's like, Sheldon's one of those, like, if he wants to keep wrestling, I'm sure somebody will pick him up, no problem whatsoever. Um, Another thing with the timing too is that if I'm not mistaken, I've seen a couple people mention this. Hard to Kill with Impact is 90 days away. So if anybody is gonna debut, we have somebody debuted at a pay per view most likely there. So we can maybe expect a surprise at two at that point.
Yeah. We got Chris Best jumping in saying Shelton's match with Hunter after he got drafted to Raw in 04 and his match with HBK during the Gold Rush tournament that I was just talking about are among some of my favorite Raw matches of all time. I completely agree. For those who are trying to, I did look it up here. Thea Vidal played Shelton Benjamin's mama back in 2004, 2005 when he went on a losing streak and his mama came in to help him get his life back on track. And it ended up with him becoming the Intercontinental Champion. That was a fantastic time. Oh my God, the Shelton Benjamin's mama was fantastic. It was sensational. I adored it. the gold standard when he returned with that bleach blonde short haircut that like he bleached his scalp, it seemed, because it didn't seem like he had any hair there. But Xavier Woods put it best. Some of the greatest things that WWE's done right now is having up, up, down, down. Xavier Woods says, without Shelton Benjamin, we wouldn't have up, up, down, down. Because without Shelton Benjamin, he changed, as Xavier Woods says in a tweet, he changed the culture backstage to where gaming was a thing that was allowed, where gaming was a thing that was cool to have happen. He is, as his tagger side on Up, Up, Down, Down, he is the VGOG, the video games old gangsta. He is the original video gamer in the backstage area. Without him, Woods wouldn't have had the ability to do something like Up, Up, Down, Down. And by the way, the WWE's hatred of Up, Up, Down, Down continues with the second reigning champion from Up, Up, Down, Down being released, as we had Massey released today, and he is the reigning Up, Up, Down, Down champion. So, for the second time, because Breeze was the first, when he was the reigning left right champion at the time, when he got released. Shelton Benjamin, my God, what do you say about him? The fact that he was, by the way, people forget this. He spent 3 years wrestling in New Japan as part of Suzuki-gun. He spent a year wrestling in Noah. Like, this man is one of the greatest. He is sensational. He is absolutely fantastic. He got his flowers. Of all of these people, at least he got a moment with the crowd earlier this year after a main event match, where it marked his anniversary. WWE did a big special about it on their online socials where they had people talking about how great Shelton was. And he got that moment after that match to embrace the crowd and talk about how he doesn't know how much more time he has left on here, but he's going to keep going until the wheels fall off, and he was going to do as best he can to make every moment count. Absolute genuine person, fantastic superstar. Any thoughts on Shelton Benjamin that I haven't talked about?
No, I keep thinking of, him being there, and even now with the Hurt Business out, when the Hurt Business started, I kept thinking this is Shelton's moment to really shine out here and had that moment for himself, and I really wanted that for him. So when the Hurt Business broke off, I was like, shoot, no, I really don't want him to like be in like limbo without anything going on for himself. So I had hope, and I was hoping that now with Bobby Lashley and the Street Profits that maybe, him and uh, like he would join him somehow and be part of that group in there as well with Cedric somehow. Because I think like that would have been powerful to see. And then I was seeing this and I'm like, shoot, like why is Shelton like he's another one that I feel like Ziggler has such a good like experience with wrestling that you can put him as a coach, as a producer and things like that too. And I feel like the talent could benefit from learning from him as well, just like Ziggler. So those are the two that I would like to see them. I would like to see somebody younger talent learning from them as well.
And there's no saying that just because these talent are released, some of these veteran talent like an Elias, like a Ziggler, like a Shelton, there's nothing saying these talent cannot come back to work as a producer, to work backstage, to work in the PC. That there's multiple, just because they're no longer on the books as an in-ring talent doesn't mean that there isn't a position for them. So, I mean, we talk about, how sad it is that they're gone. They have opportunities in so many places for so many good things to happen. We're going to go ahead and call it here. We're going to go ahead and read the list one more time. So, before we get out of here, we're not going to plug our own stuff. That's not what this is for. We just wanted to give people a place to go ahead and talk about what's going on. But do remember, I am going to plug this one little thing. Remember that we should be having an episode of The Boar's Nest, hopefully in about 15 minutes. Last I knew, The Boar's Nest will be live here on our local establishment. So definitely go ahead and check that out. Also remember that we have the WTF Do We Know About Wrestling Pub Trivia contest tonight on Ring Respect Radio at 9 p.m. on our local establishment, as we have Bobby Munson and Papa Smokes going ahead and running their own trivia contest where I and the reigning, defending, undisputed YouTube champion. However, we are going to end the show. WWE Releases as confirmed per Fightful and confirmed by talent. Elisa Leone, Shanky, Dabakato, Mace, Mansoir, Dana Brooke, Quincy Elliott, Bryson Montana, Aaliyah, Shelton Benjamin, Dolph Ziggler, Elias, Ezekiel, Emma, Riddick Moss, Mustafa Ali, Rick Boogs, Top Dollar. We are also going to add to the list Performance Center talent Daniel MacArthur, who has confirmed on his own that he's been released and no longer with WWE. Brooklyn Barlow is seemingly released based on her own Instagram social media post, so we're going to add that to the list as it seems confirmed by a talent. We have also confirmed Performance Center talent Alexis Gray and Kevin Ventura Cortez have also both been confirmed to have been released. And those are both, again, courtesy of Fightful. Thank you all for joining us. I know this isn't the stuff we normally do. Hopefully we can get back to having some fun talking about wrestling. We've got SmackDown coming up on Friday. Next week, we've got a big week for me and Ashford as we go ahead and run into No Mercy with who knows what's going to happen with that North American title match. So, everybody have a great night. And remember, be positive. Bye.